I'm Ari Meirov from PFF. Got some breaking news from you. Listen to Rough the District. So much energy here. It is amazing, and you will not regret it.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to After the Whistle by Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. We've got Trevor and Stoner here with us. And of course, we have our special guest today from Pro Football Focus. And you know him at My Sports Update on Twitter. This is Ari Meirov. Thank you for joining us today, Ari.
Guys, I appreciate you having me. Thank you for the introduction. Love the hype that we have over here. I love it.
Bro, I'm telling you, this is dope.
We've been waiting for this one. We've been talking about it. I can't believe we're going to talk to Ari Meirov.
Yeah, this is dope. All right, let's do it.
I appreciate you guys. We're looking forward to this. Obviously, the season for Washington has not started off the way you guys were expecting, but hopefully this podcast goes better than that. That's all I'm saying.
It can't go much worse. It can't go much worse. We're already starting off better than the team has been. You've started off your career here with Pro Football Focus. You just kind of launched out. You've been really successful up to this point. You have currently 484,000 followers on Twitter. How did you exactly get to where you are right now?
Yeah, it's an interesting story because I've been doing this since 2013. So back then, I was always a very big NFL fan, followed the sport very closely, looked up to all the breaking news reporters out there because I thought it was a pretty cool job. And back then, I was looking around. I used to follow everything, and I realized that in the NFL, there isn't like just one or two reporters who are breaking stuff. There are so many different people that are doing it, and it's really hard for the average fan who's working or going to school or whatever it is to keep track. So for me, I was like, let me just, make a Twitter account. I made up a name, My Sports Update. I don't know how I even came up with it, but I did. And, I just started posting news. I remember when I started, it was March of 2013. During free agency, my first tweet was about Ahmad Bradshaw visiting the Steelers. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Wow.
And that's basically how it started. And I was like, let me just try to take everything that's going on around the league, put it all in one spot and see if I can do this. And that's really what I did. And I kept on doing it, posting accurate, relevant information that the average fan needs to know. But in reality, for the first 2 or 3 years of this account, I didn't have much of a following. There wasn't much of an engagement there. Not many people were seeing my stuff, but I enjoyed doing it. I felt like I was part of it. And around 2016, I started having players and started having other reporters and then starting having agents and all these other people who are involved in football, these names that I've heard of growing up, and they're following me and they're messaging me. And I realized like, hey, this is kind of building into something. So that's basically the story behind it. And we're going to fast forward a little bit because I don't want to take up too much time on this topic. But just this past year, I've always had different offers from different companies, but I was always waiting for the right opportunity. And PFF came along and they're like, listen, we want to start a news division. We're all about analytics and data, and all the teams use us and all the agents use us, but we also want to have a news element. And I was like, wow, that's like right up my alley. And I spoke to a couple of people about it, and they said, Ari, this is exactly what you've been looking for. So after a few months of talking, we were able to figure out something, and now I'm part of PFF, and we're trying to have a news division as well, just like all these other big sports networks have. So I'm here. There's another guy named Doug Kite who's along with me, and that's what we're doing right now here at PFF. So it's been a crazy roller coaster, a crazy ride. Just started one night in my kitchen at home in March of 2013, and here we are now in 2021, and actually have a job working in the NFL. So it's quite incredible.
That's really dope, Ari. That's pretty cool. So you mentioned PFF. I was watching your introduction pod with Chris Collinsworth and Adam Schefter. And I noticed that they brought up that you were living at home. Are you still currently doing that, or have you moved out and
so
live in the back?
I have to explain this because it's so if you watch that interview, you heard that I'm also Jewish. So like part of being Jewish, and it's different than I guess other people, is that we actually live at home until we get married. It's actually that's the way it works. So by us, we actually get married pretty young. So like I'm still not there yet, but whenever that time comes is when we actually move out. So I have 4 brothers above me. All of them got married and all of them moved out. And eventually it's going to be my turn. Whenever that is, we'll see. But that's the way it works by us. So I know it's different than everyone else. but that's how it does work by us. So
I was just wondering.
I wish I could have explained it, because I feel like everybody watched that and now everyone thinks I'm like something else, but like that's the story behind how it all works.
Very nice.
Yeah, I was wondering that too, but also living at home, and you talked a little bit with them about your real estate business that you had. Do you still have that? Is that still part, or did you have to give that up?
So the office I'm in right now is where I've always been. I'm in an office right now. I'm not at home.
Ah.
Downstairs is where the real estate office actually is. It's my brother's, and that's where I used to work. I moved upstairs about a year ago, and part of the deal to join PFF was that I'll be able to let go of the real estate. So I'm no longer in real estate, which is a big sigh of relief, because I had no passion in it at all, even though it was working, and my brother has been doing it his whole life. But it was something I had no interest in. The football account was always a side hustle, and now it's my main hustle. So that's probably the biggest thing that I was looking for when I was talking to other people, was like, hey, if I'm going to join you, can I get rid of the real estate? And PFF said, yeah, and we made it work. And now I'm finally out of the real estate business, which I am very proud of.
And then to kind of follow up on that, how did you, I know you talked a little bit about how you got into this, but how does just a guy decide one day, or maybe it was something that you grew up with, but how did you decide that football is my passion? Not real estate, but football is my passion.
So yeah, I was always a big sports fan. Forget about just football. I was always a big sports fan. And really, my sports update name, really, it could have been my NFL update. The reason it was my sports update, because the first 6 months it was actually baseball, basketball, and football. You guys could like look back and find old basketball tweets there or whatever.
Yeah.
But after a while, I realized that, you know, basketball is really hard to cover because every night. Baseball, forget about it. And then football, you know, was always my favorite sport, but it's just, you know, it's only on Sundays. Now it's obviously Mondays and Thursdays as well. But I'm saying it's a once a week thing. And just the news, like, unlike baseball where it's, you know, free agency takes forever, and football, it happens so quickly. The draft is such a big event. Everything is just big with football, and there's more players and there's more reporters and more things happening. So it felt like the obvious sport to attack, but just, you know, football was always my number one sport anyways. So it just felt like that was the sport to go with. And, you know, the way the account started, honestly, it just happened. There was no real reason behind it. It just felt like,
beautiful.
Let's just do it. Twitter wasn't that big either back then. If someone tried to do it now, it might take a little bit longer, or it might not even work. So I kind of got lucky in that aspect as well.
Now, you started with Pro Football Focus here just earlier this year. How has it been standing up their news department, really kind of establishing that for them? As you mentioned, they're big analytics guys. Are you an analytics guy? Is that something that attracts you to them, or are you really just kind of hunkering down on the news section?
So yeah, if you've been following me, you know I'm not the biggest analytics guy. I'm not someone who tweets numbers a lot, but I've been able to get access to all the stuff that they do every year, and it's just unreal the amount of information they have. And I've been learning a lot. And it's like, you know, some people say analytics don't matter, but like I've actually been realizing that it does matter a lot. And the information that they have, and the amount of teams that are using it, and the amount of agents that are using it, not just for themselves, but also for their clients, whenever they're doing negotiations, I've realized that it really makes a big difference. So I'm slowly but surely, you'll be seeing me tweeting a little bit more of those stuff, things that are more relevant that the fan would want to know and understands, not some of the complicated things you might see elsewhere. That's what I'm trying to attack a little bit. But originally, before I joined them, like I really was not big into it. But now I'm actually starting to realize, and the more people I talk to here at the company, there are so many people who work here, I'm starting just to see a lot of it, and starting just to realize how it all works and how it all plays a factor, not just in the game, but also, you know, off the field with contract stuff and all those different things. So it's a fascinating aspect to the game, and it's a really big deal. It's really amazing.
So just to segue to that, so I've found you before the PFF, just from you reporting about the Washington football team, or formerly known as the Redskins back then, of course. So I just latched onto that. So you're like, now I consider you PFF's version of Adam Schefter. Like that's who you are in my eyes, that's amazing. So if you could possibly like give us a hint without giving away all your secrets, how in the heck do you just break news that fast? Like, are you asking, or is it like somebody designated that have to tell you no matter what? Like, how does that kind of work, man?
Right. It's a fascinating business. And, you know, like, it's something that I honestly like growing up. I know people look up to athletes and stuff. I actually looked up to newsbreakers. Like Adam Schefter is someone who actually I respect a lot, and he was one of the few people who like DM'd me early on and said you're doing a great job. So like that really meant a
Wow.
lot to me, and I've been able to grow a nice relationship with him. And I went down to ESPN a couple of years ago. Like he means a lot to me. Like he's one of the people that really got me into this. So the whole idea of it, there's a lot that goes into it, and you really have to be on top of this thing all the time. It's
Is that just one? You only have one?
only one. I know Adam
Wow.
has two, but yeah, I only have one.
Wow.
But yeah, you're getting updates all the time. You're getting notifications all the time. You're getting texts all the time, calls, whatever it is. You're going to get stuff,
Mhm.
and it's really just the one thing that I've realized with the NFL. It's a relationships business, and like if you get to know people and you treat people the right way, and
Mhm.
you give them, they give you. I mean, that's the way it kind of works, and that's just the way it is. I mean, the more people you talk to, the more people they tell you about, the more people they introduce you to that guy. It's just the way it works. I mean, it kind of works in every business in a way, like you're talking to people
Mhm.
always, but these are
Yeah.
people who you're going to be in constant contact with, and you're trying to follow up with, and you're trying to find out, what they know. And usually if you give them stuff, they'll give it back to you as well. And if you treat them the right way, they'll treat you the right way back. So that's kind of the way it works. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Mhm.
that's the way it works basically.
That's
So,
amazing.
so how does this work now? We talked a little bit about your faith a little bit earlier, but you go dark from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Is
Yeah.
that right? I kind in the general terms,
Yeah, so
right?
the times, change based off whenever it starts getting dark outside, basically, is
Yeah.
when it starts, and then it's basically a 25-hour period where I'm off. And I just, I miss stuff,
You just
I don't miss stuff, whatever, it happens.
yeah.
So it's every Friday night, Friday afternoon-ish. Like this
Mhm.
week, I have my calendar over here. We're starting at 6:41, and I'll be back at like 7:30-ish. So like that's it is
Yeah.
what it is. You log off, you miss it. It is what it is. And if something happens, there'll be another one the next day. So I've
Right.
learned to live with it. But that's the way. Before
Yeah, sure.
PFF, I used to schedule tweets because nobody really knew who I was. So I would schedule stuff on Saturday and let it go. Now that people
Mm.
know the story behind it, I've kind of just said forget about it. I'll be away
They
25
know.
hours. It is what it is. But
Yeah.
we'll see. Maybe I'll schedule more stuff one day. But for
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
since I've joined, I've not scheduled a single thing.
A lot of respect for you doing that
Yeah,
to
bro. No
Huge
joke.
respect.
not
So
chase the dollars to stay in your faith. But does that
Yeah.
make Saturday night / Sunday just the craziest time of your life?
Yeah, so I'm not a big sleeper anyways. I'm
Oh,
really
okay.
I'm not a big sleeper anyways. But when I return on Saturdays, it's usually just catching up on everything that I might have missed,
mhm.
Mm.
and then getting ready for the next day, which is all the injuries and any other storylines that are going on. Right now, it's actually not as hectic, but once you get into that week 9, week 10, week 11 period, where there are first of all teams that are out of it are trying to put in the younger guys, so you might see some aging guys who are healthy and active, and then eventually you have the coaches who are on the hot seat and stuff like that. So that's the period usually where it gets a little bit intense, but for now it's just injuries.
All right. Now that we've fixed some technical difficulties, we appreciate Ari coming back and sticking with us here with After the Whistle here with Ref the District. Ari, I wanted to ask you, what was your biggest breakthrough moment, the moment that you knew that you really came onto the scene?
Well, there was, so we kind of talked about it already, like growing the account and getting to the point where people were actually seeing this stuff. But the point that I remember like vividly was there was a day where I tweeted out the Pro Bowl voting rankings. I guess they gave the quarterback top 2, running back top 2, all the positions the top 2 players in each conference, and I had one of these star players who is currently a free agent who direct messaged me all of a sudden and was like, "Hey, could you find out where I'm ranked right now in the Pro Bowl voting?" And
That's
the
like,
reason, and at the time I didn't know why, but I had a good friend who knows the salary cap and knows contracts inside and out. I was like, "Hey, could you find out why he's asking me this?" And then he tells me he has a $500,000 incentive if he makes the Pro Bowl. So I'm like, "Oh, that's why he's doing it." So like,
Mhm.
that's probably one of the first moments when I remembered where like a really good player, a player that most of you guys probably know, all of a sudden is in my DMs asking me and seeing my stuff. So like that's probably one of the first moments that I remember that came to mind right away. But over time I've had a lot of these where I've had these, whether it's players or other people around the NFL who all of a sudden DM you, and it's like surprising at first, but that tells you that you've come a long way from where you started. So that's one of the moments that I remember right away when you asked that question.
Cool. All right. And then I got one more for you. You said you grew up as a football fan. You wanted to cover the NFL and everything like that, and now here you are. Now that you have this job and the position that you're in, is it hard to be a fan of the game? Do you have a favorite team, or is it strictly just work for you?
Yeah, so I've always enjoyed just covering the entire league as a whole, but I'm here from New York, so I personally just enjoy seeing the teams here do well because just the buzz in New York is just awesome. Like the 2 years when the Jets had those AFC Championship runs, the city here was going crazy. The two giant Super Bowl runs were awesome. I mean, if you're into basketball, this past year, the Knicks and the Garden, if you just the environment there, it's nothing like it. They say basketball isn't the same if the Knicks aren't good. If the Garden is buzzing, it's just completely different than any other arena. So just having the city buzzing with the teams doing well is fun, but we haven't had much of that here as of late. It's been kind of sad. The Giants and Jets are already 0-6 this year, so we haven't had much of that. But as for me, it's more just following the entire league. It's such a fascinating league. There's so many different elements to it. That's really what I've enjoyed throughout my life. And the off season, the games, the cap, all these different things that goes around the NFL. There's so many fascinating stuff to that part. So that's really just me. But being here from New York, like I said, I kind of just root to see the teams here do well, and then to go outside and see these crazy fans going wild. That's really fun for me.
Very nice, dude.
Yeah, coming full circle. You talked about your very first tweet was about Ahmad Bradshaw and how he was on his free agent tour. What did he end up doing?
He signed with the Colts. A couple of weeks later. Yeah, he was
Nice.
with the Giants for a bunch of years, 7th-round pick, big part of their 2 Super Bowls, or one of the Super Bowls, I believe. And he ended up leaving, signing with the Colts, had a couple of years there, and I believe he did not play after that. So I remember that pretty well.
Very
You
nice.
got to
That's
follow
cool, man.
that and track that all through your Twitter account at My Sports Update. Ari, I want to thank you for joining us here on Ref the District. This has been a great experience talking with you and finding out about your life, even outside Pro Football Focus and everything that goes on. So thank you from the Ref the District team for joining us, Ari.
Thanks so much, Nathan, Trev, Stoner. This was a pleasure. It was really fun. You guys bring a lot of good energy here, so it was pretty good, and we'll do it again at some point.
I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Well, he's already called us out by name. I'm Nathan. That's Trevor. That's the Stoner. And we're Ref the District. Until next time, be a fan.